He was born into the margins of colonial society. Yet José María Morelos would rise to challenge the very empire that defined those margins. Born in 1765 in Valladolid, now Morelia, renamed in his honor, Morelos came from a humble background. His ancestry was a blend of indigenous, African, and Spanish roots, and in a rigid caste society, that mixture placed him far from privilege. His father died when he was young, and like many children in colonial Mexico, Morelos had to work early, toiling as a mule driver and a farmhand to support his family. These early years, marked by labor and hardship, shaped his deep empathy for the oppressed and gave him first-hand knowledge of the injustices that permeated New Spain. Despite the weight of colonial stratification, Morelos sought education and eventually entered the seminary in his early 30s. He became a Catholic priest, ordained in 1797, and served as the parish priest in Caracuaro, Michoacán. But he was not a passive man of the cloth. As he studied theology and history, he also studied the world around him, and what he saw was inequality, violence, and a rigid racial caste system enforced by imperial power. The church, while offering him a platform, was still entangled in colonial interests. And yet, it was from the church that Morelos would launch a rebellion that would shake the foundations of Spanish rule. When Miguel Hidalgo issued his Grito de Dolores in 1810, calling for the end of Spanish domination, Morelos heard more than a cry for rebellion. He heard a call to action. He joined the revolutionary cause almost immediately. Hidalgo, recognizing his intellect and leadership, commissioned Morelos to lead the struggle in southern Mexico. From there, Morelos became not just a soldier, but a strategist, a builder of armies, and a tactician who turned scattered uprisings into coordinated campaigns. Unlike Hidalgo's spontaneous revolt, Morelos operated with precision. He imposed discipline on his forces and focused on capturing key towns, ports, and trade routes. His campaign swept across the south: Acapulco, Chilpancingo, Oaxaca. These weren't just victories of arms, they were victories of morale. Each win inspired more indigenous communities, more mestizos, more forgotten people to believe in the possibility of freedom. But Morelos wasn't just a warrior. He was a philosopher of liberation. In 1813, he summoned a congress in Chilpancingo and presented one of the most radical documents of its time, Los Sentimientos de la Nación, or The Feelings of the Nation. In it, Morelos laid out a vision for a new Mexico, free from Spanish rule, governed by reason and equality. He called for the abolition of slavery. He denounced the rigid racial hierarchies that defined colonial life. He demanded land reform, education for all, and sovereignty resting not in kings but in the people. The document was breathtaking in its ambition. Morelos wanted to destroy the very pillars of colonial society and replace them with justice, equity, and self-governance. He wasn't merely leading a revolt. He was envisioning a republic grounded in indigenous dignity and mestizo identity. And he believed that this vision could and must be built by those who had been oppressed for centuries. Under his leadership, the Congress declared independence from Spain and began drafting a constitution. But while the ideals soared, the reality on the ground grew more precarious. Spanish royalist forces, backed by wealth, weapons, and foreign allies, regrouped and launched counterattacks. Morelos and his allies were outgunned and outnumbered. Yet he refused to retreat into obscurity. He fought on, even as defeat loomed. By 1815, the Spanish crown had placed a high bounty on Morelos' head. He was eventually captured during an ambush while trying to escort the remaining members of the insurgent Congress to safety. The Spanish knew who they had. This wasn't just another rebel. This was the intellectual spine of the independence movement. They subjected him to public humiliation. He was tried by both church and state, excommunicated, and condemned to death. On December 22, 1815, José María Morelos was executed by firing squad in San Cristobal Ecatepec. He died at 50, but his ideas lived far beyond him. His death was a symbolic blow to the revolution, but it wasn't the end. Morelos had transformed a scattered insurgency into a coherent national vision. He had built the ideological foundation upon which later leaders like Vicente Guerrero and Benito Juárez would stand. He gave the revolution shape, purpose, and a moral compass. Even those who disagreed with his methods couldn't deny the power of his vision. Today, Morelos is remembered not just as a fighter but as a founder, a man of action and ideas, a priest who chose the path of rebellion not out of rage but out of profound spiritual and ethical conviction. He believed that divine justice was incompatible with colonial oppression. He believed that a truly Christian society could not coexist with slavery, inequality, and racial caste. Morelos understood that freedom meant more than political independence. It meant the dismantling of systems built on exclusion. It meant empowering indigenous and Afro-Mexican communities. It meant redistributing land, access, and dignity. He believed education was essential for liberation, not just for the elite, but for all. And for that, he risked everything. He also left behind a striking legacy in terms of leadership. Unlike many revolutionary figures, Morelos didn't hunger for power. He rejected titles. He styled himself as the siervo de la nación, the servant of the nation. In a world of generals and emperors, he chose humility. His authority came not from domination, but from dedication. This humility is one of the reasons he remains so revered today. Statues of Morelos can be found in nearly every major Mexican city. His name graces highways, schools, and entire states. Yet beyond the monuments lies the deeper meaning of his life. The idea that a just society is built not through conquest, but through conscience. He proved that a revolutionary does not have to be born into wealth or wield brute force. What matters is vision, resolve, and courage. In modern Mexico, his dream remains unfinished. The struggles he addressed, land inequality, racial injustice, corruption, still echo. But the fire he lit continues to burn. He is a guiding star for those who fight for justice, who believe that a better world is not only necessary but possible. Morelos remains one of the clearest examples in Latin America of a revolutionary whose moral clarity matched his military skill. He showed that it is possible to wage war and remain guided by principle. He understood that liberation was not just a political act, but a spiritual one. José María Morelos y Pavón was not a man of half measures. He was a man who believed that freedom must be full. Freedom for the body, freedom for the mind, and freedom for the soul of a nation. He gave his life for that freedom. And though they tried to silence him with bullets, his voice remains louder than ever. Follow for more history they never taught us in school.